Welcome to MaxsGarajMahal. Today we're actually going to talk about the old Chicago Electric Dual Mig 151 and its gun. Now what I'm going to talk about, get over here so you can see me too, because you know what, right down here is the star of the show today. Right down here, come on down, right down here, yep, right here. Chicago Electric, right there, Dual Mig 151. Runs on 230 volts. It actually runs real well on a 20 amp fuse, which is our breaker, which is what I've got it on. And I'd rather throw a breaker as have a problem with the shop, you know what I mean? So let me zoom out here. That's the wrong way. That way everybody gets to see my lovely chin here. Can you tell my 11s are coming up? You know what that means, don't you? You ain't got long. Anyway, that's just a joke. All right. Have you ever turned on your machine, your welding, your MIG machine, and all of a sudden wires running and you didn't pull the trigger just like it was possessed or something? I mean, that's not a good thing. Mine did that just the other day while I was making a video on the zero turn class 3 hitch, and quite honestly I wasn't impressed. And I've heard of people having this problem with this particular gun, and a lot of times they'll throw away the machine and the problem, and this sort of goes back to when I was doing my diagnosis on this thing. I did not take this gun apart. Actually I did, but I didn't see the problem at that time, and it was a real simple fix. It really only involved about this much wire. I mean, that much right there, and actually that was more than I used. I'm going to show that to you. So let me show you what it would do. Now this is correct. When I turn on, isn't that a lovely sound? Sounds like a really healthy little machine. All right. And when you pull the trigger, the wire should do that right there. That's exactly what you want. Okay, so what this one's doing, when I turn the machine on, now it worked perfectly the night before. I run out of 75-25, turned the machine off, and the next morning got up to use the machine, and this thing was nuts. And it was a real simple fix, as I said. So let's take a look at it. And I'm not going to unplug it from the wall because the machine's off. And I'm not even going to take, I am going to do this. I'm going to lift the lid to the machine. Stay right there, Foxpeed. I got some people's names up here. This Foxpeed jumper, y'all have seen the video on that. That's a good little tool to have, and I've used that recently several times. So you might want to look into getting one of those. And they will give you a bit of a discount, which is a good thing. And Max is our Mass FX tires. Take a look at them too. And Fuel Works, great people. Now that's all my commercials out of the way, and they don't even pay me for this. I just like to mention them because they're great people. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and roll this wire back in, because you know it's one of those things where you waste not, won't not. You know how that goes? All right, so that's where we're at. Now all you got to do to repair this gun is you're going to screw this counterclockwise facing the end of the gun, and pull this back. Okay, now you're going to have to pull the top forward. Fairly simple little trick. You're going to remove that, set it over its side. Now the way I did it is I used solder and shrink wrap. Now when I solder, I always use a petroleum base anyway. And what I'll do is I'll get in here and I'll drag that through it until I have that flux all the way up on the wire. Sometimes I'll just poke it in there like that, but I want to make sure I don't spread the wires out, because you want that a nice tight fit. And what you want to do is you want to melt the solder down inside the wire. So everyone's done that, so you pretty much know how to do that. So once that's on, and you have your soldering iron up here, then you just lay your soldering iron right on top of it, and you just run your flux in there. Don't get too hot, just enough to melt it. Get your gun away from it. Turn it over to the other side and do the same thing, because when you start melting the sheathing, then you're going to have to cut some off. No sense in doing that. So that's what I did as far as getting the wire ready to go. So now we've got the top off. The nut has slid down to the bottom, and I'm going to show you real quickly what the problem was. Okay, now once you pull this out of the base right here, you notice the wire on the trigger right here? That's your ground wire. See, it's green. This wire right here, can you see where now right here's where I put some shrink wrap right here because I had a bare place in the wire. What had happened is, for some reason or another, this wire had shrunk to where it pulled this trigger, this is a hot, pulled this out of the gun. So all I did was I cut this in a bare spot it already had two bare spots where it was going through these little U-shaped things here and had gotten frayed. So I took the opportunity to cut one of them, and I put this little lengthener on here. This shrink wrap is always longer than the piece I used, so from about here to here, that's just about 5/8 of an inch, and all I needed to do was stretch it 1/2 inch, and as you can see, it's tight. I didn't want it loose. So all you're going to do to put this back together is you're going to slide this trigger back down in here. You're going to slide this square into these square slots just like this. We want to make sure that we place the wires into these two U channels right here. Alright, now we're going to place the top of the handle back over. Just like this right here. Get it started in there, and you should be able to hold this in place, pull this down, get this up where you can see it. I could see it, but you couldn't. So you're going to put this in these two U slots right here. Alright, then you're going to hold it down, just like this. Pull it back together. Pull your nut back up here, because you got to get your nut on, you know. And find you've got a little 1/8 inch turn right here. You got to get the little bosses in here to line up. And once you get it there, push it forward. And you're going to push this in at the same time. Lock it. The gun is now back together, and here we go. It's just that simple, boys and girls. Nothing to it, and that'll save you $35 to $150 to buying you a new Stinger. These things are pretty short. This gun is only, and the Stinger is probably on about 6 foot, and a 10 to 15 footer is so much nicer, but you have to push that wire out that 10 to 15 feet. And to be honest with you, I've never found a place that I did have to have a longer gun, because I can move. I've got this on a real nice little cart. I can move it around. It's got the gas on it. It's got a acetylene torch down there on the bottom on the back, so it's fairly self-contained. I can actually put 2 more welders on this cart, and I may be buying a couple of Miller welders that has some problems with them, and if I do, then what we'll do is we'll diagnose them on video and we'll repair them on video. And I've been getting more requests for welding and welder repairs, so I'm not by any means a welding repair shop, but I've repaired all mine over the years, back when I had Max Hughes machine. And we built an awful lot of stuff over the years. We built a lot of parts for Little Red Wagon, which is a 1/4 mile wheel stander, the Hell on Wheels, the Army tank wheel stander, the Magnum Illusion. We built the Dodge D50 Super Wagon with Bill Golden's owner, and we built an awful lot of the parts for it. The engine parts, transmission parts. Now, rear end parts I built a lot of, and throttle parts, things like that, requires a lot of welding. And I used, at that time, I used Miller and Lincoln welders. And the reason why I ended up this thing is when I retired and went to work for Homeland Security, I was bored in a motel room one night in El Paso, Texas in 2005, and I had a email or eBay account for years and I never used it. And they hadn't been around all that long. And I was thinking, boy, I'd love to be home welding. And I understood that my family members told me my machine shop was broken into and all my welders were gone. Well, now what are you going to do without a welder? You got to have a welder. So I saw this one, and it looked to be brand new. It says it was new, but you know how that goes. So I messed around and I made just a stupid low bid of $51. $51. That ain't a lot of money. It was a lot more money in 2005, I understand. But at the same time, that's not a lot of money. And I forgot about it. To be honest with you, I just forgot I made the bid. Then I get an email one day, several days later, I think a couple of weeks later, 10 days, something like that. And it says I won this bid. I didn't bid on anything that I remembered. It's pretty late at night. And I get home, and I had it on auto pay. Bad mistake. So I get home, and this thing is sitting in the carport up against the rear door. It's in a great big box, and it's got a box inside a box and a box inside a box. And I get down and open it up and get to this last box. Real pretty little box, and there it is. It's covered with styrofoam, and pulled the styrofoam back, and there it was. Need a handle put on it. The handle's laying in a little styrofoam tray that's built in, and the gun needs to be put on. And actually, I think the gun was on it. And anyway, I get it out of the box. And oh man, that thing actually got a scratch on it, so it's brand new. So, wonder if it's any good. I'd seen them out of Harbor Freight. Never had bought one. Never seen anyone use one of them. Didn't know if it's any good or not. So, I got deployed about 12 hours after I got home. So I didn't really have any time to play with it, but it came with a little roll, a little 1 pound roll of flux wire, which I'm not a big fan of. And I didn't really have anything to weld on, so I snatched yeah, I know, this is silly. I took a part of my air conditioner apart and borrowed part of the ductwork, and I laid it up here and I ground it and went to weld, and I thought, that sucker works. So, gave $51 for it, had to buy a regulator, had to buy a tank and gas, because I went on gas, had to buy a roll of welding wire, which I bought from USA Weld at that time, I think was what they called themselves. Now it's HTP. It might have been HTP USA Weld, I'm not sure. But anyway, I've used this thing quite a bit, not as much as a lot of welders, and I try to keep it nice and clean and lubricated and working. And it works like a champ, but when I fired it up the other morning, it was running, it was just spewing at the mouth. So that was the problem. The wire had shrunk and it's not sticking up inside. I pulled inside the stinger. I don't know why it pulled out of there, but it was just laying down on the ground. The hot wire's laying on the ground. That was a problem. So I hope that explained everything pretty well. And if you got anything out of this video, we appreciate it. And there's that requisite phone call we have to get on every video. And we appreciate you guys calling, by the way. We'll call you back here in a little bit. And please subscribe, hit that like button, share. And as we always say here at MaxsGarajMahal, y'all come back and see us now, yeah? Okay, a little bit of bonus footage. Now I've got to show you some alternatives to that. I apologize. I had forgotten all about this. I was going to show you an alternative method. If you don't have a soldering iron, and a lot of people don't, then, and you don't have shrink wrap of various sizes and colors, then, but you do have wire. Okay, so you're going to cut you a small piece of wire. And then the problem with using this method, I don't like this method because you'd really have to have two pieces of this. So here's a little butt connector. You're going to stick your wire in. One end down like that. As you can see, it's cut, ready to go. You're going to stick your wire in there. You're going to crimp it with the crimper. Oh, I think I have one of those in my pocket. I'm going to crimp it. Okay. You're going to take the other end of the wire. You're going to stick it in here like that. You're going to crimp it. Now, you still got another end we have to go to now. So now you have to have two of these. In a small place like that, I don't like that. So I'd rather solder. a piece in there. That way you can keep your gun trim. You could also do this. You could take one of these and one of these, put one inside the other, crimp it on one end, but then what happens? Now you've got to have two of these, or two of these, or 4 pieces. Or one of these that has the cover already on it and you won't have to tape it. You can do that. I would not recommend it in a tight situation like that. It will work. There is enough room in there, but it is tight. And if something were to happen, you're not going to have to worry about those things coming apart, but that's just another method to use. And you could take the piece off of the hot side of the trigger, cut that off altogether, resolder another piece on that, and just make that one piece longer. And I was in a big hurry the other day, and I know I did it a different way. And I used the same size black wire, the whole 9 yards, and it really didn't look like it's been messed with. But if you open it up, you'll see it is. And it's actually better shape now than it probably was from factory, because if it shrinks again, something going on wrong here. I got to find out what it is. But that's a little bit of bonus, just to show you another way or two you can do that. So again, we do appreciate you stopping by MaxsGarajMahal. Hope you got something out of this. Please share, please like, please subscribe, and y'all come back see me now, yeah?